I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we delve into the essential skills for effective leadership with Sean Mahar's amazing book. It is called Stop Wasting Words. This transformative book provides the tools you need to enhance your communication, whether you're a low-level manager or a C-suite executive. Today, we will uncover strategies for conducting honest self-assessments, making impactful communication choices, and implementing continuous improvement in your leadership style. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. We ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing and important book. The links are below this interview. Sean, great to see you here on Spotlight today.
Logan, it's a sincere pleasure. I've been looking forward to meeting with you. Thank
Same
you.
here. I've been looking forward to talking to you about this great book, Stop Wasting Words. Let's begin with the title, Stop Wasting Words. Does it mean that you should get to the point more often and have more concise communications?
Not necessarily. It could mean that because one of our principles is that words mean different things to different people. The subtitle of our book, Stop Wasting Words, is Leading Through Conscious Communication. The more conscious we are of what we're doing, the better we are able to do it. And most people settle for a relatively low level of consciousness in communication. Like most people drive their cars and they're happy with their skills. But a few people actually practice doing donuts the first time it snows so they can practice handling the car. They excel. They want to get better. And so this book helps people get better than average communicators.
Great advice. I was one who did donuts when I first started driving, so I'm all in on that metaphor for sure.
Learn
How
it.
did you identify the need for better communication training and leadership as it pertains to leadership?
Let me share briefly that at my age, I've been doing this for a very, very long time, including teaching over 15 years in graduate schools about communication, organizational communication, MBA programs, conflict management. And throughout all of it, I felt I was missing something. And about 14 years ago, literally 14 years ago, I had an insight that I discovered no one in the world ever had. And that is that when we, as an example, pass you a cup, I pass it to you in a way to help you get it.
Yeah.
But when I give you feedback or give you an assignment or give you a report, I don't care about your individual needs. I don't care about giving you a handle first. I just sort of throw it at you and hope for the best. And what I realized was that in all things physical, everything we do, from passing a paperclip to a ball to a piece of art, we always care about the grasping. And I discovered again 14 years ago, I remember the meeting even, that most people care about expressing themselves and not noticing how and if it's being caught. And so with that concept, I was able to integrate all the things I'd studied and had a new, fresh perspective on it and began the journey that led to our book being published and my continuing work today.
Communication is a two-way street. It's not just you giving the information, it's the person receiving the information. And hopefully what the person is giving to the receiver is the same message. I think that's important, and that's part of handing the cup the right way to make sure that they've got a grasp on what you're trying to say.
Yeah, so when most people speak, they know what they want to say, so much so they close their eyes and rehearse what they want to say, and they don't notice if the person's getting it or not. So we have teachers who can be challenging their students, and this can be grammar school, high school, or graduate school, and feeling good about that without noticing that they're threatening their students because they're not noticing the students' reactions. So largely, I teach people how to pay attention to the receiver while they're talking.
Exactly. And some people, unfortunately, enjoy that power dynamic. There's a reason why they are not being empathetic towards the receiver. But that's a talk for a different day.
I can respect those comments for 1 second, please.
Sure.
Power is a great word. I appreciate bringing it up. When I have power, I can blame the other person for not listening, instead of blaming me for not saying it better. Power is really a great challenge in my work. But thank you. Sorry about interrupting you.
Oh no, I'm glad you picked up on it because it's very, very true. So to be an effective leader does not mean being a boss, does not being so heady with power that you're pushing people around. To get things done, to have an effective team, to have an effective organization, you are trying to get the most out of your team. And the way you get the most out of your team is often through effective communication, correct?
Perfect. Yes, thank you.
What is something a manager can do right now to improve his or her skill set when it comes to communication?
What comes to mind is sort of a graph, as it were, where when I am giving you feedback as your boss or giving you a new assignment as a new employee, or even interviewing you in the beginning of a relationship, most of us pay attention to what we want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And we spend a very small percentage of our time looking at the other person's reaction. The metaphor I use for this, and this is something anybody can do right away, is one of my videos is a picture of a glass with a giant picture filling the glass until it overflows and continuing to pour. And the metaphor is that we don't notice when the other person is full of us. We don't notice when our questions are beginning to be too heavy or too hard. We don't notice their reaction. Just as a quick, real physical example, I was teaching a self-defense class once, and one of the women I was trying to coach in self-defense, I asked her to do a quick role play. I would hold up my arm like this, just hold it up right there, and ask her which arm she thought she could use would be the best position to sort of deflect and back away from it. Just how do you protect yourself? In the moment I held up my arm, she burst into tears and ran out of the room. She was a current victim of abuse. She was in a domestic violence situation. And because I knew enough to be co-presenting with a female trainer, she was followed up and we paid attention to what her needs were. So the assumption that everybody's a clean slate isn't really true with adults. People have stuff going on. So we need to pay attention to how they're processing us more so than just what we're trying to say.
Absolutely. And the glass overflowing was kind of reminding me of information overload, which
Yes.
as a TV news reporter and an anchor for a lot of years, we were always dumbing down our scripts in a way so people could absorb it and understand it. Because if we give them too many facts and figures, we're going to lose them. And that's kind of a great principle of communication to avoid information overload, correct?
Yes. If I can punctuate your beautiful paraphrase, one of the first insights I had to creating this little video that makes a good discussion guide when coaching people was my guitar teacher, who presumed because I had degrees, because I was a teacher, because I was an author, that I knew something about music. And so within 10 minutes, my cup was full. But he kept
Exactly.
pouring. He kept pouring.
Exactly. Sometimes we toss out a phrase here and there, and people expect that we have some kind of expertise in a subject matter, and we don't. We know a limited amount about a lot of subjects, perhaps. So you do have to be aware of the receiver and whether he or she is receiving that message. Tell me a little bit about your work as a coach when it comes to leadership.
I've had the pleasure, the blessing of working with some absolutely incredibly brilliant people. And in the same way, they have expertise in healthcare, in cybersecurity, in management, COOs, CEOs, presidents of organizations. What got them there wasn't necessarily their communication skills. So they have these little hiccups that they're unaware of. Mm. And when they get ordered to go to coaching, the coaches bring out their scripts and go over them. They don't study the person. And so in summary, and I may close with this, is we do our best work when we're monitoring the other person's reactions to us, not when we're saying things we rehearsed. And I have one example where a brilliant physician leader of a large medical practice was at the risk of losing his job because he was alienating people and didn't know why. I sat with him because a mutual friend made the reference. And I love this guy. I mean, if I wasn't already married to my wife, I might want to marry this guy. He was beautiful. I loved everything about him. And I thought I need to inventory better what his experience is. I noticed that he never broke eye contact. I have this little assessment I do when I'm observing people. I noticed his eye contact was fixed. And so I told him I had a theory about that. Just a quick theory about your eye contact. I said, it appears to me you're holding eye contact. And he said to me, I'll never forget these words. Sean, you got to understand, my parents taught me it's rude to break eye contact. So I always hold eye contact. Now, in your business, too much eye contact pushes people away, is irritating, is invasive. And in some cultures, eye contact is actually a sign of disrespect, not respect. Now, I could have, in terms of describing what I do, I could have talked about that. I could have taught about that, could have given readings about that. But I said, I want to give you an experience. Now that you told me your parents have always taught you that, don't know your life. I want you an experience. I'm going to hold eye contact with you for only 5 minutes. That's all. For 5 minutes, I'm going to hold eye contact and not break it at all. At 3 minutes, he said, Uncle. He experienced what he was doing to people. No wonder people were angry with him. They thought they interpreted it as hostility.
Right.
And so 6 months later, and no one knew about this consult. I'm not going to give you details about it. But 6 months later, his contract was renewed for 3 more years instead of him being terminated because he had a particular problem. So a lot of my work helps people figure out what their unique problem is, because a lot of people are brilliant people, just don't know how they're getting in their own way. I help them figure that out so they can do better. I hope that answered your question.
A lot of people don't know their strengths. A lot of people don't know their weaknesses. You do sometimes need an outside observer to come in and tell you, this is right, this is on target, no, this is wrong, this is alienating people. It's extremely helpful.
People don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our first chapter. People don't know what they don't know. So
exactly.
we need help from each other.
Let's talk about some of the practical steps that a manager or a boss can take, or a leader can take, to design and apply a continuous improvement process to their communication skills.
One of the things that our research has demonstrated, I want to say profoundly, but there's no way in this video environment that I can elevate it to be as big as it is in all cultures, every culture around the planet, when we give somebody something, we care about their grasping. In all cultures, whether we are giving them, for example, a pen or a dumbbell, we always care about their grasping. So in communication, anything we can do to notice the grasping during the conversation, instead of blaming the listener for not paying attention, helps us. We've also discovered very concretely that there are certain words that don't work in most languages. And if we simply stop using those words, we can go a lot further. One of those words is the word why. Kids learned that the word why is a tool of discipline from their parents. Now, I can tell a 30-year-old graduate student, that when I use why as the teacher, it shouldn't mean that. But still, their muscle memory was being yelled at with why, and finding out that when they asked their parents why, they got punished. So just stop using the word why. And when most people are asked about a why question, usually come up like, for example, why are you wearing that tie? Well, because of this. But if I was really curious about it, say, what kind of tie choices did you have? I would learn more with other questions than with why.
Absolutely.
So throw why off the plate. Another of my favorite ones is the word but. We've got to stop butting each other. There's no kind way of saying but, because but means everything you've said doesn't count until I talk. In the world of improv teaching, it's always say yes and. We want to say never say but. So those are two very concrete examples that can change people's lives.
Absolutely. I love your example of the improvisation. Good improvisers always agree and go along with, and that is part of it.
And redirect.
Talk a little bit about the structure of your book. What will folks find between the covers?
Well, the first chapter, as I made some reference to already, is that people don't know what they don't know. And so curiosity, which is a theme of many authors, is really critical in our work. I need to be curious about the way to be better and not settled. So it's a developmental mindset instead of a fixed mindset. We also teach this notion that the meaning of words, I want to say this humorously, so please don't take offense, and I was an English teacher, but our English teachers have lied to us, okay? They've said that the meaning of words are in the dictionary, okay? Now, I remember, getting a degree in English literature and going off to grad school and be answering the question what the dictionary meanings are, what's important, and have everybody in the class laugh at me in graduate school, because the meaning is in the person, not in the book. So we teach people how to find what words mean to different people, because we all have our own dictionaries. And so we got to care about that. And once we care about that, we care about grasping, and then word choice, And then literally feedback, because feedback is less an act of describing what you're doing wrong than an act of working with you to help you improve. And so as long as feedback is giving you something and checking off that I gave it, I'm creating harm. And one more word about harm. In healthcare today, there are between 250 and 300 deaths every day because of misunderstandings in healthcare, where the provider or the nurse or the discharge planner is reading instructions and checking if they were read without noticing if they were grasped and understood.
Right.
That would make it longer. However, otherwise, they die. They get sicker. They come back. So this grasping thing is thematic. And lastly, the book goes from interpersonal skills to group skills to how an entire organization can become a more conscious communicator and become more effective throughout the entire organization.
Wonderful. It's a great book. It's an important book. Sean Mahar has written a book that you'll want to have in your library for your reference as a leader, as a manager, as an entrepreneur. It is called Stop Wasting Words. It's a transformative book that provides you with the tools you need to enhance your communication. And it is essential. One of the metaphors he used today was handing a cup to someone so they can grasp it. Keep that metaphor in mind. Make sure that your communication is received as effectively. Sean, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Logan, my pleasure. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.